Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Today we have a wonderful group of people that we are going to induct. We're very excited. This is probably one of our best classes ever. Very diverse, very accomplished, and you're going to sit back and hear some wonderful, wonderful stories. But before we start, I'd like to introduce our co-host, a gentleman who's become a wonderful friend to me. He's also the president of the Olympia Weekend, and he has a brand new book that's just come out. So please give a warm welcome to Dan Solomon.
Well, first of all, this is a great tradition, the continuation of a really important tradition that means so much to all of us here at the Olympia. Now, I know people come from all around the world, and when they get here, they come to celebrate their passion for fitness and longevity and all those things that connect all of us. So it's really important to come back here. And the reason why we love this event is because Dr. Bob Goldman has created something that really speaks to what the Olympia is all about. And before I talk about that, I just want to say a few words about Dr. Bob Goldman, who in his own way, oftentimes under the radar, has done so much for the global fitness industry. His work in the world of anti-aging is well documented by now. But it extends to other places that don't often get the credit that I think it deserves. The work that he does to create opportunities for men and women to pursue their love of fitness, and the way he mentors men and women of all ages, and he's really, really committed to that. So the fact that he's able to bring his International Sports Hall of Fame here to Olympia Weekend under the watchful eye of Fairfax Ackley and the hard work that he does, it really means a lot to us. So give it up to Dr. Goldman if you could. With that said, this Sports Hall of Fame, the reason why it works here is because what we all try to do at the Olympia every single day is to connect with new audiences. And in connecting with new audiences, it's opportunities to inspire and influence other people to take on this lifestyle. In order to do that, you need to connect to other sports, other disciplines. And what makes this really special is the panel that we have up here. Olympic champions. We have NFL Hall of Famers, we have Basketball Hall of Famers, we have Olympia champions, we have world champion martial artists, and of course we have the man who's arguably I shouldn't say arguably because he's standing next to me, the greatest sports agent of all time is also here. And what's really cool about this group is they are here not just for what they have done on the field or in the arena, as they say. They're here because of their commitment that goes so over and above all of that. And I was just backstage and I was talking to the great Lee Steinberg, and of course my interest was in the fact that he represents guys like Patrick Mahomes and some of the greatest to ever do it, which is fun for a guy like me, a sports fan, to talk about. But immediately he wanted to focus on the things that we can all be doing to prolong the careers of these athletes, and tapping into all the latest in longevity and regenerative medicine and anti-aging, and making sure that we're making full use of those things to extend these careers and make sure that their lives after the field is rich and full and healthy. And that's what separates a sports agent from an iconic greatest of all time to do it. And those are things that are so important. I know Olympia champion Sydney Gillen is here not because she won the Olympia 8 times, but she's here because of the things that she does every day when she visits hospitals and she inspires kids and she gets people to take on this lifestyle. So I just wanted to speak to that idea. So as you're celebrating the work that they've done in the world that you're familiar with, just know that they are here for that, but also because of what they have done in ways that go far beyond that. So on behalf of all of us at the Olympia, welcome to Las Vegas, and welcome to the induction of the International Sports Hall of Fame. We appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to do my best announcing voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to introduce the gentleman standing behind me to my right. He is a MD, a former surgeon, a 9th degree black belt. He was voted one of the outstanding philanthropists in the world, a former Guinness World Record holder. The man is incredible. He's also the founder and president of A4M, which is the largest anti-aging conference in the world. But for our purposes, he is the president and founder of the International Sports Hall of Fame. please welcome Dr. Robert Goldman.
I think Fairfax is gunning for that job at the UFC to start making the announcements. I want to thank everyone for coming here. And, you know, in this room, what makes it so unique about the International Sports Hall of Fame, or in this room, you have world champions in so many different sports. That's what makes it really different, because we want to honor people from all sports right across the board. We put a lot of time and effort. It takes a full year and a massive amount of effort in order to get this whole class together. This is one of the finest classes we've ever had, with such a unique diversity of sport and people with their backgrounds and things that we've done. We started back in 2012. This is our 14th year at this. Now, I want to go into a little bit of the history. We started this not only for what the people can do during their careers, but what have they done post-career? What have they done to enhance the lives of others in charitable works and giving back? And to us, that is as important. So what all of you have done to inform all of these young people who look up to you and say, you know what, this is who I want to be like, this is who I inspire to be like. So it's not just what you've done remarkably during your career, but these, not thousands, but probably millions of lives that you guys and ladies have inspired. And that's legacy. Legacy, as we get older, we realize we're not going to be here forever, and legacy is really what makes us. How are we making this world better? How are we leaving this world better than we found it? And you're all here not just for your expertise in sport, but also for what you have done in giving back and the lives that you have changed and the lives that you continue to change. So our respect to you for that, even more so than your athletic careers. This would be impossible. This event would be impossible. I could not do this without our VP and tireless work with Fairfax Hackley. Let's give it up to Fairfax. This guy works tirelessly around the clock forever to make sure that this particular event comes off. And I know because I get the calls 2 in the morning when he's pulled out of bed to handle issues. Now, in order to make the awards, we wanted to make this really special for you guys. We wanted this to be not just a Hall of Fame, so we give you a lot of hardware to take home. But a lot of thought process went into that. The medals that we put together for this, we had a competition of over 350, maybe show it to these guys too, over 350 artists around the world competed to come up with this design. And this is the design we came up with in 2012, and it's an 8.5-pound gold medal. You get that. Also, for your desk, you also have a mini gold emblem with the Hall of Fame logo on it as well. In addition, you have a jacket, which we had custom made with the logos all over them. You also get a patch, like I have on my jacket here, and you get the gold buttons and gold cufflinks for the guys, but the girls, you get cufflinks also. So we have you fully outfitted before you leave here. So that's our way of showing our appreciation. Oh, and last but not least, Fairfax likes hats. Everybody also gets a Hall of Fame hat as well. Do we have a jacket out here? Yeah. And this jacket is all handmade. And for Ryan, we had to make it 6X. So we had to take 2 jackets and almost put them together. So you weren't the first one we had to do this with. We also had the issue with Hafthor, who's about 6'9", 420 pounds, and also Mark Henry and Brian Shaw. So we're used to making these 6X, 7X jackets. So you're all set. And ladies, we have beautiful jackets for you, but they're of course smaller. So we try to really make sure you go home with a lot of stuff. Also, all of the documentation of the posters and all the video, we share all the video, all the pictures with everyone. So anything you want to access, it'll be on the website. You get a hold of us. It's all free. That's why I spent so many years trying to fund this. You don't see any logos or signs for companies here. It's all about you guys. This is purely about honoring you and not being beholden to anyone. So that's one of the things that we work very hard. And all of this documentation, all the medals, the posters, the documentation, the videos are all enshrined at the University of Texas, Austin at the Stark Center, which is the largest physical culture museum in the world. And it's a massive museum at University of Texas, Austin, which, Ryan, you went to U of T, I think you competed there and won a number of awards there. So we tried to build on legacy. And with that legacy, it is also very much about how are we giving back and how are we trying to enhance the world and leave the world so much better. All right, we're going to start now with our first inductee. Sydney Gillen she was the reigning until this year because she retired last year, Miss Figure Olympia champion. In October of 2024, she announced her retirement after winning 8 consecutive titles undefeated, a remarkable achievement in the Olympia history. During her dynasty, Sin created a unique posing style that captured the industry's attention, influencing eloquent presentations, and became the standard for the figure division. In addition to being a professional athlete, she also teaches bodybuilding posing internationally and nationally, and is an ardent ambassador for the IFBB. She graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, where she also ran the 100-meter for the varsity track team. Amidst all this, she has remained an advocate for excellence and head-down, grind and silence mentality. For such, her successes have led her to sponsor the Sydney Gillen Student Athlete Scholarship. And to us, these are the important things that make you not only an athlete, but a legend and a giving back. This scholarship award provides supplemental funds for college and college-bound students, and she firmly believes that truly no success is without the continued evolution of her humanity. Let's give it up for Sydney Gillen.
Hi y'all, thanks for coming. Hi. This is a different type of mic for me now. I'm used to grabbing it after my wins. So this is different. I'm at a podium now. If I think about where I am today and what I was able to accomplish, I did not think I would be here in the way that I am. I knew I was destined for greatness because my parents instilled that in me. Did I know what I was gonna be great in? No, I just did a bunch of stuff, just kept doing a bunch of stuff, and I figured it out along the way. And along that way, about 6 years old, again, I'm thinking I'm destined for greatness. My parents told me, you're that girl, so I'm gonna be that girl. And so at 6, I said, hey mommy, I want abs like that woman on stage. Hey mommy, I want muscles like that woman on stage. I want rhinestones. And that's pretty much how my career started. As superficial as that is, I wanted rhinestones and I wanted some abs. And so at 10 years old, my mom took me to the gym for the first time, and she was like, okay, do some pull downs. Mind you, she wasn't serious at the time. And so I started doing a pull down. She's like, oh, you kind of strong. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, let's pause off on it. So we circle back at 13 when my joints close up, so they say. At 13, I'm going and I say, Mom, I think I really want to do this. But let's circle back to 12 years old. I had high cholesterol, okay? I was the most unhealthy child on this earth. When I tell you I drank nothing but sweet tea from McDonald's, supersized, big and tasty, that was my life. And I bought it myself because, again, I'm an entrepreneur. So I just say, hey, Mom, can you drive me to McDonald's? I'll buy it myself. You don't even have to buy it. So it really is not that much of a discussion. I just need your gas money. So I would get there, I'd eat my food. Next thing you know, high cholesterol. The doctor is like, hey, either she's going to change her lifestyle or she's going to be on medicine. My mom was like, I'm not paying for that, so she'll change her lifestyle. So at 12, this is why I don't have excuses for people, because at 12, I decided, hey, you're either going to kill yourself or you're going to change your lifestyle. And that's how bodybuilding came to be. And so at 13, I was like, okay, I'm making the switch. 14, I did my first show. I got my pro cards and all the natural orgs before I switched over to the NPC. NPC first show I won, and then next thing you know, I had my pro card within 3 NPC shows at nationals. And so I said, I found my home with the NPC. And at that point, I also ran into people who had Olympia jackets on. I didn't know what the Olympia was at the time. I just knew it had a big O on the jacket. And I said, I want that jacket. Again, superficial, guys. We're catching on the theme. We're catching on the theme. We do superficial first, then we go to the meat and potatoes later. That's how we do it. So as the time progressed, I got my first Olympia qualification after 2 years with the IFBB. And then that's when everything changed for me. I already took everything seriously. I was already a Division I athlete, and then I had my first title as the youngest figure pro in the history of the sport at 24. At that point, I asked myself, what do you want your legacy to be? And at that point, I already was high up in my sorority. I believed in community service, and I always believed in giving back and uplifting those who are beside me, under me, or above me. There's always somebody who can need something from you, and I'm always adamant about being that person to give it to them, whether that's a smile, whether that's a hug, whatever that may be. And so that's what I progressed to. And I said, okay, if this is what you're going to do, just continue doing what you already do, what's already instilled in you, what your values already are at a higher level. And so at that point, I didn't post on social media at all. I was a ghost. I was like, if I'm not on stage, doesn't really matter. But my coach, he talked to me, he said, Sydney, you have thoughts, you have a presence, you need to share that with others. And so that's when I started posting more on social media, and that's when I started just building. If you call it a brand, I don't call it a brand, I just call it telling people more about me. And that's what I started doing. And in that, I decided to create my sponsorship that Dr. Bob talked about, and making sure that student athletes feel like they have a voice and that they can get a little bit of help along the way. Because as a person who needed financial aid, who was on Pell Grants, I know how important it is in order to have the funds in order to receive the education that you need in life. And so after graduating from the Ivy League, I said, okay, I see other people who can need what I need. And if I'm at the point where I'm able to have these funds and build the life that I was able to build from the bottom, I'm going to help somebody else be able to come up as well. So again, it's all about reaching back and pulling people up the ladder with you. And so as time progressed, I said, okay, what are we doing next? And that went from scholarships, that went from retreats in Mexico, that went from instilling values in my clients every single day across the world, internationally, into being able to go from there to speaking at JP Morgan and Chase in the financial district that has nothing to do with bodybuilding. And so my thing was, okay, I've already reached back. I've touched a lot of people in the bodybuilding industry. How do I touch the world and continue to build that way? And I even realized that when I was at JP Morgan and Chase, they had nothing to do with fitness. And they asked me what my goal was. My goal was is now to let women and people in general just learn about health and understand you don't need a six-pack like me. You don't need shoulders like me. I just want you to move. I want you to be healthy, and I want you to instill those values in your children. And when I realized how much that impacted the moms that came up to me after, who never wanted to be bodybuilders, it's not about that. I want you to be healthy. And so when I was able to pass that message on, it made me realize that I was continuing to do the job that I set out to do when I go on my first title 9 years ago. And so time has progressed. I've continued to give back. I continue to pour my athletes. So though I've stepped away from stage, as Dr. Bob talked about, what do you do after retirement? And after retirement, all I've done is done more of what I already do, which is continue to give back. So much so that I've had athletes take over 3 Olympia titles this weekend alone. And so though I may not be winning titles, I continue to pour my athletes to make sure they're able to live their dreams and keep pushing forward. So that's my goal forever and onwards. And that's the end of my little speech. Thank you.
Our next inductee is a personal hero of mine. Starting martial arts at a young age, there are a few people who are just iconic in the martial arts world, and Bill Wallace, Superfoot Bill Wallace, is certainly that. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, kickboxer in history. He's considered by many to be one of the first American superstars in kickboxing. He was a Professional Karate Association's world full contact champion and the middleweight kickboxing champion for 6 years, retiring with an undefeated 23-0 record. He was elected to Black Belt Magazine's Hall of Fame in 1973 as Tournament Karate Fighter of the Year, and again in 1978 as Man of the Year. He is currently the International Ambassador for the PKA worldwide. He holds a 10th Dan Black Belt, by the way, that's the highest that you can go, and title of Soke in Shirin-Ryu Karate, and has also studied wrestling and judo. He's the founder of the Superfoot system, which incorporates stretching methodology with Wallace's kickboxing style. As an actor, he was in a number of films, A Force of One with Chuck Norris, Kill Point, Ninja Turf, The Protector, that was with Jackie Chan, and an array of other movies. He trained in wrestling during his high school years and then began the study of judo in 1966, but he got injured, so he had to switch from judo to karate. Between 1974 and 1980, became the Professional Karate Association's middleweight full contact champion, retiring undefeated. He uses a remarkable, interesting style. I mean, he's almost hypnotic to watch what he is able to do and how fast he's able to move with his legs with the multiple kicks at great speed. Bill Wallace was also the personal trainer and close friend to both Elvis Presley and John Belushi. In 1990, Bill Wallace, at 166 pounds, fought one last exhibition with kickboxing karate match with his friend Joe Louis, who, by the way, was a heavyweight at 198 pounds, so considerably heavier on pay-per-view. But he's taught karate, judo, wrestling, weightlifting at Memphis State University, and he also is a UFC commentator. Bill Wallace, one of the great legends in our martial arts world, and I waited years to be able to present this to my good friend, Bill Wallace. Got a lot of medals. I don't think he's got one this big.
I'd like to tell you a little story. I was a freshman in high school. I weighed 89 pounds. I'm from Indiana, which is a basketball state. As a freshman, you got to be at least 6 feet tall to play the game. I was maybe 5'4", 5'5". So that took care of my athletic career as far as I was concerned. I'm walking down the hallway of my high school. I see these guys in a room rolling around on the floor. So I walk in, I say, "What are you guys doing?" And the coach stands up and says, "We're wrestling." I went, "Oh, do you have guys my size doing this stuff?" And he says, "Yeah." "How much do you weigh?" 89 pounds. He says, "Well, our lightest weight is 95 pounds. You can wrestle 95 pounds. So I said, okay, so I started wrestling that day. And felt very comfortable, felt very good about it. And I said, well, I'm going to screw up the guys I have to wrestle. So I weighed 89 pounds. So we would weigh in for a class. When we would weigh in for our meets, it's a winter sport, so everybody wearing jackets and coats and everything else. I would weigh in with all my clothes on. And everybody else, anybody that were trying to make weight before, you're spitting and peeing trying to make weight, right? So I was no trouble. Then all of a sudden I had a growth spurt. When I was a senior in high school, I weighed all of 135 pounds. I turned sideways and stuck out my tongue. I looked like a zipper. But anyway, so I became very good at wrestling, and I like to use my legs. So I was termed a scissor man. I would tie you in knots, put you in figure four, Roman candle, banana splits, and the guillotine. And like the MMA fight now, it was a pinning combination in wrestling. And then my best friend in high school at the time said, hey, let's join the service and fly airplanes. Now this was in 1963. Vietnam was just getting ready to happen. And I said, well, okay, but I don't want to go to Vietnam. He said, you're not going to go to Vietnam. So I said, okay, we'll join the service together. So we joined the Air Force with the content of the recruiter saying, you guys are going to fly airplanes. Never even saw one. So we go through basic training together. He gets stationed in someplace in Texas. I get stationed at Wordsmith Air Force Base, Michigan. So I'm walking around now. Anybody ever been in the service? Okay, you have two choices when you're in the service. You either find something to do in your off time or go get drunk with your buddies. I don't drink. So that took care of that. So I walked across to the men's gym and I said, excuse me, do they have a wrestling team here, a wrestling program? Well, I don't know what they're doing, but a bunch of guys in the back are rolling around on the floor, throwing each other all over the place. I said, fine. So I walked back there, being a brash 17-year-old that I am. I said, excuse me. Anybody in here wrestle? This guy stands up, he's got a black belt on, takes his little coat off, says, I'll wrestle with you. So we wrestle a little bit. I take him down a couple times. I put him on his back a couple times. He says, that's pretty good. I said, well, thank you, sir. He says, now put this little white coat on, a judo gi. So I put this little white coat on, and some of us are familiar with something called flying status. Well, yeah, I bounced off the floor. I bounced off the walls. I felt like I bounced off the ceilings. But anyway, I said, what is this called? He said, it's called judo. I said, wow, this is great. And besides that, if you're a wrestler, they have grappling. But much like the jiu-jitsu. Matter of fact, judo was taken from jiu-jitsu. So what happens is, I made the team. We competed at Wordsmith Air Force Base for the 2nd Air Force, and we won the team championship for 2 years in a row. Then I get stationed in Kadena Air Base, Okinawa. A guy comes up and says, hey, you know there's a karate school downstairs? Let's go downtown and check it out. I said, okay. And we get to the school, we walk in, we watch the school. We're watching the training and so forth. One of the black people comes up to me and he says, oh, you do karate? I said, what? He said, you want to do karate? This is 66, so they didn't know English that well. And my friend says, do you want to do karate? And I said, yeah, it looks fun. I'd like to do that. And because of my wrestling background, my judo background, it felt very comfortable to me. So I'm sporting one of the 2nd degree black belts. I throw a side kick at him and miss him with a side kick. He starts to come in. I bring the heel around, catch him in the solar plexus with the heel. He goes down. Now, very traditional schools in Okinawa. I'm standing here like this, waiting for him to kill me. And he gets up and says, what'd you do? What'd you do? I said, what'd you do? I said, well, I threw a side kick at you. You got out of the way of it. So I just brought the heel around to keep you away from me. Ura Mawashigiri. The 3 kicks that I've done since that time, Yokogiri, side kick, Mawashigiri, roundhouse kick, and Ura Mawashigiri, a reverse roundhouse kick or a hook kick. And so far, life has been a ball. It's been a blast. This is all I've done. They've always said, if you love what you're doing, you've never worked a day in your life. And I've never worked a day in my life. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Ryan Krauser, American track and field shot put and distance champion. His name is etched into history as the greatest shot putter of all time. World record holder and the first athlete to ever win 3 Olympic gold medals in the shot put. He's redefined the shot put in terms of track and field excellence. And from his standout career at University of Texas, Austin, record-breaking throws on the world stage with combined power, precision, consistency like no other. Beyond his medals, he is celebrated for his humility and the way that he treats others. He specialized in the shot put, in which he is the only 3-time Olympic gold medalist, having won in Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, and Paris, and the 3-time outdoor world champion. He holds the world record in shot put, both indoors and outdoors, and set these records all over the place. In his early career, Krauser set the national world school record for indoor shot put and outdoor, and won the gold medal at the 2009 World Youth Championships at university. He won 4 NCAA titles in the shot put, won the national title in shot put at the USA Track and Field Championships, and has been honored and named by Track and Field World Male Athlete of the Year, awarded the USA Track and Field's highest accolade, the Jesse Owens Award, and was voted Athlete of the Year by Track and Field magazine and the International World Athletic Governing Body for Track and Field. He's also earned the distinctive victories in the Diamond League Championships, the Olympics, World Games, outdoor games, every game, anything with a shot put, this guy is a world champion. And he's only 6'7", and I think what, 325? 326 after dinner last night.
All right, I just want to first off thank the International Sports Hall of Fame. What they do, I think, is very special, and that they reach out oftentimes beyond the spotlight into sports that might be relatively unknown or more niche, and I feel like that is where the true passion in the world of sports oftentimes lies. And so for me as a shot putter, you're not really in the limelight. Oftentimes tell people I throw the shot put and they think, oh, that's the big heavy ball, right? And they're absolutely right. Putting in perspective can be challenging. The best analogy I have is shot put weighs 16 pounds. So if you go to your bowling alley and pick up the heaviest bowling ball, that's a 16-pound ball. Shrink it down to the size of a grapefruit and go to your local basketball court. If you stand at the free throw line, turn around and make a 3/4 court shot, you've just set the world record. I'd prefer you don't set it by too much more, because as you get into your 30s, world records get harder and harder to come by. But the beautiful thing about shot put, what drew me to it when I was first in middle school and still motivates me to this day is the ease of which you can measure your performance. The ring is always 7 feet. The ball always weighs the same. It doesn't matter if you're throwing at a middle school, if you're throwing at a park, if you're throwing at the Olympics, at the World Championships, it's always the same. And that consistency leads to ability to measure your self-improvement. And the feeling when you throw a PR or a new personal best and seeing that ball go the farthest it's ever gone is a reflection of the hard work and dedication and hours that has gone into that moment, and the ability in that moment to say that I'm the best that I've ever been. That is what motivated me in middle school and what continues to motivate me to this day. And to say you're the best you've ever been, it can be a difficult thing. I also coach, and it's conveying to my athletes, it's not the absolute best I've ever been. It's the best I've ever been given the circumstances that I'm currently in. This is an issue that as an athlete, as a coach, we run into at major championships, because you expect the Olympics or the World Championship, the biggest meet of your life, to be the most well-run, well-organized meet of your life, and they're oftentimes an absolute disaster behind the scenes. So it's about being the best version of yourself given the cards that you're dealt, controlling the things that you can control and not letting the things you can't affect you. Whether it was the Rio Olympics, being a kid fresh out of college with 3.5 hours of bus rides on the day of the competition, the Tokyo Games during a global pandemic, competing on what was the hottest day in Olympic history, taking 17,000 steps before we stepped out onto the field for the final, just because of the logistics of navigating the Olympic Village. All the way up to the Paris Olympics last year, competing, coming off of a torn pec and a nerve entrapment injury in my elbow. It's all about doing the best that you can given the circumstances. I just want to take a moment to thank my family. I'm blessed to have them here. My wife, Megan, she has helped me a lot these last few years. Was in med school. She's now a doctor, but she was helping work as my physical therapist these last few years. So taking time away from her med school, very demanding schedule, to do physical therapy, massage. So she's been a huge cornerstone and a huge part of my success these last few years. My parents are both here. My dad, Mitch Krauser, who is my coach starting in middle school, and anyone who has had their dad as a coach or been coached by their dad knows the challenges that go along with that. But I'm just so blessed to have had him along on this journey. Growing up in Oregon, throwing in 40 degrees and rain all spring, he was out there every day with me. And my mom is here as well, Lisa. She oftentimes has to take the back seat, but she's the logistics behind it all. She's planning everything. And it's an oftentimes unrecognized and thankless job. So I just want to say thank you to her for everything that she does. There's no one more passionate about the family. So I'm just glad that they're able to be here. And so I just want to once again thank the International Sports Hall of Fame. I'm truly honored to be inducted. And may we all work each day to be the best that we have ever been, given the opportunities that we have. Thank you.
Neglected to mention Bev Francis, world powerlifting champion and also a Olympia competitor. She also, like Corey, have not been here to the Olympia in decades, so we're pleased to have you guys both here together. The last time all the girls were together, Linda Murray, Corey, and Bev, was at the 212 induction, and our first induction of the International Sports Hall of Fame. To have all three of you guys here together is just fantastic, and be here at the ceremony. The next inductee I have a strong personal admiration for. We both went to the same high school. We both went to Far Rock High School together. And Nancy is a true legend. Nancy Lieberman, two-time Naismith Hall of Famer. When they talk about basketball, and forget about even women, when they talk about basketball, Nancy is true legend. She's had coaching careers included in the NBA, WNBA, NBA G League, Big Three League. I mean, right across the board, when you talk about someone who has changed a sport and created opportunity, she's the one that has done so much for women in sports in general And for women in basketball, she has been the most prolific and most inspirational across the board. She helped the United States win medals at the 1970 Olympic Games in Montreal, and then again at the World Championships in Seoul. In 1975, 1979, the Pan American Games, won the gold medal in Mexico, a silver medal in Puerto Rico, and a gold medal again in 1979 at the Jones Cup in Taipei. She was the first pick in the first ever Women's Pro League, the Women's Basketball League, WBL, to the Dallas Diamonds in 1980. In 1985, the Diamonds won the championship and WNBA, and she was Player of the Year. She also played for the Los Angeles Lakers in their Summer Pro League in 1981 for Pat Riley in preparation for her upcoming season with the Diamonds. In 1986 and 87, she joined the USBL, becoming the first woman to play in a men's professional league in 1986 with the Springfield Flame. Really remarkable when you have somebody who's such an amazing athlete as a woman that she could actually play with the men. The Lieberman Award is presented now by the Nesmith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame that recognizes a top point guard in women's NCAA Division I college basketball for their leadership. I mean, she's done so many things, but the thing that really impresses me the most about Nancy is her giving back. She has programs including the 140 Dream Courts, which are pop-up classrooms which are provided for over 5 million children in communities for opportunities to have safe places to enjoy health activities, build relationships with local law enforcement, and be part of the community. She has really done, I would happen to be at one of her events. It was truly a remarkable thing to see. She was also a recipient of the Martin Luther King Jr. National Civil Rights Museum Award. I mean, just, it goes on and on and on. She's been recognized by so many organizations. And in 2025, she will receive the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Award. Let's give it up for my classmate and superstar, Nancy Lieberman.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the kind things that you said about me, Bob. And yeah, you probably didn't know that we went to Far Rockaway High School together. We were the Seahorses, and we didn't offend anybody because seahorses don't offend anybody, okay? The other thing you probably didn't know about Bob, well, you probably did. You know, he has 4 black belts, right? All right, I've got 6 black belts in my closet, and I've got about 17 pair of black pants. So, you know, we're not in a competition with one another, but I did want to say that I so appreciate you and for everything you've done and all the other recipients here today. This is an honor of a lifetime and a privilege, Fairfax. You're the MVP, you're the X Factor, and thank you for everything that you've done to make this special for everybody. You know, you said a lot of nice things about me, but I would be remiss if I didn't say congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces who won their 3rd WNBA championship, and my friend Becky Hammond, Asia Wilson, who's the greatest player on the planet right now, 4-time MVP. So the game has come a long way because most of you here didn't know nothing about basketball until about 4 years ago, okay? If I had to put you on a polygraph, okay? But now we are the rising stars of the business of sports. I really appreciate, you know, how everybody has just galvanized and, you know, see the greatness in women and what we're able to do. But I also want to thank all the men. You know, people say that men hold us back. There's not a man who's ever held me back. And I've coached in every league possible, done TV in the NBA for the Thunder, currently with the Dallas Mavericks, worked for ESPN, Fox. There's been great men in my corner every step of the way. So if I had to, and I'm a minimalist, and I say this all the time, I was learning, I was earning, and now I'm returning. I'm giving back to people because, you know, I was a poor kid out in New York City, and I had no father, we had no heat, we had no electricity, there were days we didn't have food. And I was hopeless and helpless growing up. And I didn't know that I'd be standing in front of, Randy Couture in 2025. You are the GOAT. So congratulations for everything you've done. I admire greatness. And the greatness of people changed my life, because I didn't know if I was going to kill you, and I didn't know if I was going to kill me when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And I fell in love with Muhammad Ali when I was 10. By the time I had made, the Olympic team in high school and got a scholarship to go to college, to Old Dominion, because we couldn't afford to go to college. And that's the greatest networking machine in the world, because I was around people who changed my life. We ended up winning back-to-back national championships, and I'm sure as you read in the bio, I was two-time player of the year in college basketball. But you know what? I was a freaking fraud. I was broken from my childhood, and I was hiding behind being Nancy Lieberman and everybody kissing my ass. It wasn't until I met my hero in December of 1979, Muhammad Ali, and we were the two headliners for the Olympic Committee at an appearance in New York. This man, after spending 15 minutes with me, knew that I was broken. He invited me back to the hotel with my mom, and that was the seminal moment. Muhammad Ali took me under his wing. He taught me about racism. He taught me about philanthropy. He taught me how to be an everyday champion. And he taught the little redheaded white Jewish girl from New York, the most famous Muslim in the world, he taught me about God. That night, he looked at me and he said, Nancy, God made you special. You're going to shake up the world for Black America. You're going to change it for us. And you are special. God made you special. And as eloquent as I could, I looked at the champ and I said, you know God too? You know everybody, Mr. Ali. Is he like a nice guy? Like, what's he like? And he looked at my little mom and said, I need your landline and your physical address, because I'm not letting her out on the streets without me. 37 years later, I had that man. He knew I was going to the NBA to coach. He knew so much about me that I didn't know about me. And the most important thing that Muhammad Ali taught me in my life, I didn't love me. And he taught me to love me. And for everybody out here today, no matter what we have, right? I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is inside of me. I did not have that. So today I stand before you doing charitable work. We've raised over almost $14 million for kids in underserved communities. We have sent 120 high school seniors to college. We build dream courts. We're trying to be the giver, not the taker. And Ali said to me at a young age, there's so many Ali-isms, but he says, Nancy, I want you to respect everybody, but I want you to fear nobody. I am not afraid to stand before you today with this great man who started this International Sports Hall of Fame. I am so humbled that my friends would come here, from Cam to Scott to Maya to Tracy to Gabby to my cousin Risa and Joanne to Sean, to everybody. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize that. Thank you for being with me. But I can't leave this stage without asking my brother, the great, legendary Hall of Famer, Spencer Haywood. Please stand up, Spencer Haywood. He is one of my besties. There would be no free agency in the NBA. He is iconic. To Michael Jordan, to Charles Barkley, to Shaq, to Curry, to LeBron. This man, some people play the game and some people change the game. And I love you. Thank you for showing up for me today. So just thank you. Thank you for this incredible honor. You all are amazing. And I'm just overwhelmed to be here on the stage with you. And again, for my people that got on a plane from Dallas, thank you so much. Thank you for the time, the love, the kindness. God bless each and every one of you. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Our next inductee is someone who has really changed sport. You know, if you think of one man who changed sport, and Lee Steinberg is the first sports agent we have ever put in the International Sport Hall of Fame in 14 years, which is a pretty remarkable accomplishment, but that's because he is a truly remarkable individual. He was Jerry Maguire in the movie Show Me the Money. That movie was about him. Is that amazing? He has represented some of the most successful athletes and coaches across football, basketball, baseball, hockey, boxing, golf, and more. He holds an unprecedented record of representing the #1 draft pick of the NFL 8 times, along with 64 first-round picks, and represented 12 Hall of Famers. Beyond football, his clients include Oscar De La Hoya, Lennox Lewis, multiple Olympians, and professional teams. With a record-setting contract amount, he has secured over $4 billion for more than 300 pro athlete clients and directing over $1 billion to various charities worldwide. This is one of the things that really made him such a superb candidate, his charitable work. In fact, I met Lee at the Super Bowl several times where he holds a charity event on TBI, brain injury, at the NFL. So his work in philanthropy is really unparalleled. And he's been honored by members of Congress, state legislators, multiple U.S. presidents, civic organizations, and so on. And thereby, he's been named Man of the Year over a dozen times, receiving Keys to the City in different American cities. Also played a pivotal role in saving the San Francisco Giants, earning him the honor of Lee Steinberg Day in that city. In 2017, he was inducted into the California Sports Hall of Fame. So throughout his career, he's been like the go-to guy for information on athletes, on charity. He's a prolific writer, a lawyer. He's been quoted in Forbes, so many different magazines during the course of his career. And he has championed initiatives about sustainability and community development through his partnerships with various organizations, launching educational programs, and he has done so much. So it really is remarkable to have such a mix of amazing people on this stage today, and it's a great honor to recognize you. Lee Steinberg. The baseball superstar. His dad is a baseball nut, and these two, his dad and these guys are like best friends. And when he left for college, he got really depressed. So now he has to get an apartment where the son is going to school. Yeah, did you want to put the medal on? Big fans here, so.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, it strikes me as really ironic that a little wimp like me would be honored on Olympia weekend. I can probably lift this paper, but I'm not sure I can do that much more. Thank you, Dr. Bob, for putting this event together and honoring people that make a difference in the world. Thank you, Fairfax. So I began representing athletes about 51 years ago, and I had the first pick in the first round of the 1975 draft, and we did the biggest contract of all time, but my dad had raised me with 2 core values. One was treasure relationships, especially family, and the second was to try to make a meaningful, positive impact in the world, relieve pain, and help people who couldn't help themselves. And I saw that athletes, because of their high profile, could be role models and trigger imitative behavior. So I asked each athlete to go back to the high school and set up a scholarship fund, and we have about 150 of those. To then go back to the university community and set up some form of scholarship or give back. And then at the pro level, set up a charitable foundation that would have the leading political figures, business leaders, and community leaders on a board to execute a program. So that's work done putting the 220th single mother and her family into the first home they'll ever own by making the down payment and moving the family in. Or it's Patrick Mahomes with his 15 and the Mahomies, where he helps large numbers of at-risk kids, kids in hospitals. And I also discovered, and in aggregate, the athletes that we worked with have raised almost $1.5 billion for charities and causes across the country. But I also figured that they could trigger imitative behavior. And we could tackle any cause in the world, whether it was bullying or sex trafficking or racism or domestic violence, by using athletes to message and trigger imitative behavior. So I had the heavyweight boxing champ, Lennox Lewis, cut a public service announcement that said, "Real men don't hit women." And that could do more because of his macho status to trigger imitative behavior in rebellious adolescents than 1,000 authority figures ever could. Or Oscar de la Hoya and Steve Young, "Prejudice is foul play." As I went along in my career, I had a crisis of conscience because I'm representing half the starting quarterbacks, and they keep getting hit in the head. And we would go to doctors and ask, how many is too many? What's the magic number? When should you contemplate retirement? And they had no answers. So we started holding concussion conferences to explore this, because eventually we got to the point where Bennett Amalu, a doctor, said at one of our conferences that 3 or more is the magic number. And after that, you have an exponentially higher rate of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, premature senility, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and depression. So I called it a ticking time bomb. We've held overall 30 different conferences with neurologists from across the country trying to make a difference. And I just set up a charitable foundation on athletic concussion to raise money for research, to raise awareness, and to heal. And the exciting news is we can now, through some new methods, heal a concussed TBI brain, and through neuroplasticity. So this is a cause I've been passionate about, because the brain obviously is the center of consciousness and what it means to be a sentient human being rather than this table here. So I want to thank all of the other honorees who have done such amazing things in the world. I'm flattered to be a part of this. I want to compliment Dan on his Olympia weekend. I looked at the weights outside and that weight room, and I don't think I'll be participating anytime soon. So athletes can make a positive difference in the world, and we thought holistically is how to represent them. Give them a role modeling function, prepare them for second career, and safeguard their health and wellness. And my job's got to be more than just stacking dollars into someone's bank book. It's got to be a holistic look at how you fulfill athletes in their dreams and how together we can work on problems to make it a nicer world. Thank you.
Our final inductee, Fred Biletnikoff, unfortunately, he wasn't feeling well today. He is in Vegas for an event, but he was not able to join us because he was not feeling 100%. But we were very fortunate that his lovely wife, who founded a very important charity, Angela is here today, to accept the award for him. Now, Fred was quite an idol for all of us. All of NFL buffs know about Fred Biletnikoff. Fred was with the Raiders. He was the #2 draft pick in 1965, a 1964 All-American at Florida State. He played in the College All-Star Game before reporting to Raiders. Then over 14 seasons with the Raiders, he became known for his precise running, sure hands, and remarkable consistency. He appeared in Super Bowl II. He was selected to 6 Pro Bowls, earning 5 All-Pro honors, including 3 first team and 2 second team. He still holds the NFL record today for the most receptions, 1,167 yards, receiving yards, and 10 receiving touchdowns in 19 playoff games. He set the league record for 10 straight seasons of 40 or more receptions, extraordinary achievement during an era when teams emphasized running over passing. The guy has so many records, it really is quite amazing. And he just went on, being in one Hall of Fame after another: Florida State University Athletics Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, College Hall of Fame, Gator Hall of Fame, just on and on. And what is really important, the reason that he was a candidate, because he and his wife formed the foundation, an organization committed to supporting at-risk youth, particularly those impacted by domestic violence, human trafficking, and substance abuse. The foundation's cornerstone project, Tracy's Place of Hope, was created in memory of Fred's daughter, whose life was tragically cut short by domestic violence. So for 2 decades, this program has provided young women in crisis with safe housing, counseling, life skill training, educational opportunities, and empowering them to build embodied and stable futures. And let's give it up for Fred's wife, who was kind enough to come and accept.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Thank you, Fairfax. What an incredible honor. What an honor of a lifetime to be inducted into the International Hall of Fame. And all of the inductees, so impressive. You guys are amazing in your own right. I tell you, it's wonderful. Fred Biletnikoff was born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania. 3 generations lived in one household. He then went on to Florida State and then moved to the Raiders. His second year playing with the Raiders, he had a career-ending injury. And Al Davis wrote him a letter and says, "Don't bother coming to training camp. I understand your condition. You're no longer needed." Fred called Al up, and I'm not going to say it in Fred's words, but he basically told him, "I'm playing for you or somebody else, but I'm playing football." So after that, Fred went on to a wonderful career, pretty much a self-made wide receiver. He had great coaches, but Freddie was determined and had the initiative of doing a lot of things on his own. Trained on his own, stayed after practice. He would have quarterbacks stay after practice for 45 minutes every single day until their arm fell off, so Fred can continue to practice and be the best that he can be. He became the Super Bowl MVP and had a great career. Then he went into coaching for 18 years for the Oakland Raiders. We moved to Los Angeles, came back to Oakland, and then in 1999, we get a knock on the door at 3 a.m. in the morning. A uniformed police officer was standing there. Says, "Do you know where your daughter's at?" And she's here. So we ran around the home trying to find her. She wasn't there. They said, if you could reach out to any of her friends to let them know, we think she's been involved in a battery. And when Fred closed the door, I asked him, I said, Fred, what does a battery mean? He goes, that means she's been assaulted. So we stayed on the phone for several hours that night trying to get a hold of her friends. No one had seen her. And then within 72 hours, they found her body at the edge of a cliff, strangled to death. And that's where our life drastically changed. We've always been underdogs, he said. But this was something that was gut-wrenching, and Fred was paralyzed. Fred went into work, and Al Davis sat him down. He goes, I'm not going to even imagine what you're going through right now, but I want you to take a year off with pay. You have your job back whenever you want it, but I just want to let you know I'm 100% behind you. I want to support you, but I want you to heal and get better. Fred came home, and he told me, I said, he's going to be home for a year, but it was good for him. It was very good. But about 3 months in, at about 11 o'clock at night, Fred turns off the TV, and he says, Angela, I've been an underdog my whole entire life, and I'm going to beat this. I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to go back and teach those wide receivers, and I'm going to take them to the Super Bowl. Well, 2 years later, we went to the Super Bowl. So that was a fantastic accomplishment for us. So when Tracy passed away, before that, she was an addict herself. And she went through the process of a residential program and went through it very successfully. And so excited about her recovery. And she was in an adult facility, and she was young. She was 18. Nobody was her age. So she went to the executive director of Women's Recovery Association and says, you know what? We need a teen facility, and we're going to start raising money for it. So the executive director started the wheels moving for state and federal funding, and Tracy went to work fundraising for a home. Well, when Tracy passed away, the executive director of Women's Recovery Association sat down in our living room, and they said, Tracy has been working so hard on this project. Do you mind if we call it Tracy's Place of Hope? And Fred and I were incredibly honored. So our very first fundraiser was at the Oakland Coliseum. We're playing the Denver Broncos, and Al Davis, I can't believe he let us do this, but we had a campaign called Dollar Up for Tracy. We asked every Raider fan to donate $1. With a stadium that held 68,000 people, we raised $91,000. I had coaches' wives, players' wives, my mother, my neighbors, my friends. So we were able to put the down payment on our very first home. Very excited about that. And then we moved on over to Loomis, California, and we asked them that it's this beautiful program for teens, but the facility itself should have been condemned. And so I loved what they were doing. I asked them, I said, you know, I've got some little check points that I want in Tracy's Place of Hope. I was on the executive committee on designing the program. And one of them is that they had to let God into the front door. If you don't have God during recovery and during your worst moments, there's nobody else you can talk to but God. I wanted psychotherapy services. I didn't want a time limit for children to recover. Different things like that. They had to have 24-hour care, wraparound services, really hardcore stuff. And I also wanted tough love. You know what? I believe in tough love. There's consequences to your actions. So that was something that the business model that I carried on. Then we went to Loomis, California. We tore that house down, built them a beautiful custom home, and then we built a Bolitnikoff Center of Hope, which is a counseling center on the same property. So the girls needed to get down and dirty and do all the hard work that they needed to do. And then right here in Las Vegas in Boulder County, I got together with St. Jude's Ranch for Children and partnered up with them. and we opened the first of its kind for human trafficked females, a 30-acre property. It has a receiving center, which is a kinder, gentler way of a jail, if you will. And we have 4 homes on it. The first home is the Hope House. This is brand new. And the very last home, which is a 6,000 square foot home, which will house 12 girls. And that would be the last stop of their recovery. Each home provides a different level of care, and Tracy's Place of Hope is the place where they are well enough to go out into the community. It also has accredited school on it. So we're really excited to provide that for them as well. But I'm still raising money for that, still taking care of our place in Loomis. But I want to thank you for recognizing Fred and ours passion for helping children and the success stories that we hear from them. I got a phone call the other day that says, Angela, I don't know if you remember me, but I was in the house in Burlingame, the very first Tracy's Place of Hope. It's the happiest day of my life. I'm getting married today. And if it wasn't for you and Tracy's story, I would not be alive. So I have you to thank for my happiness and my joy. But I want to thank you guys for recognizing Fred Bolitnikoff, an incredible man, and I'm so sorry that he's not here. He sends his sincere apologies, but he loves you all, and he appreciates everybody that does what they do and giving out to the community, because it really does it's a part of your soul, and it consumes you, but it is so gratifying. Thank you very much. I want to thank my dear friends, Lisa, Mark, Mario, and Minerva. I want to thank you so much for coming on out and supporting us. We just had a gala last night, super fun, but we also have a golf tournament here in Las Vegas too. So we love what you do. Thank you very much. Keep it going. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's hear a round of applause for these 6 great inductees. I also want to thank our sponsors, Qualia Life Sciences, STEM Regen, and a supplement, the company that's near and dear to my heart, Pure Black. I'd like to say a few words about our inductees. Bill, at midnight last night, I was checking him into the hotel. He had spent 7 hours in a plane trying to get here from Florida. So, again, I love you. Ryan, in May, I had never heard about you until one of our advisory board members, Bert Soren, had said, you need to invite this guy and induct this guy into the Hall of Fame. And I said, who the hell is Ryan Krauser? Well, when I looked him up and I realized that he was a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, a 3-time recently world champion. He holds the world record in the shot put, both outdoors and indoors, and he will be going again for his 4th Olympic medal in the next Olympics. Nancy, since I've come to know you, I went into my phone this morning and struck out your name and just put in wonderful. So whenever you call me from now on, that's what's going to pop up. I love you, and thank you so much for what you've given me. Let's hear for Nancy Lieberman. Lee, look at the faces on the people around here, because I know you want to say it. I know you want to say it. Don't you want to say it? On the count of 3, show me the money. Oh, that was terrible. You guys are so broke. 1, 2, 3, show me the money. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Steinberg. Angela, when your husband called me up and said, oh, I'm feeling sick, Fairfax, I can't make it. What? You can't make it? Yeah, but I don't feel good. Okay, well, feel better and tag. So I got the brilliant idea of calling his wife. She accepted. And I have to tell you a little story about your husband very quickly. The Oakland Raiders were the only team that my dad watched after 4 o'clock because he loved to see them beat the New York Jets. And Fred was an incredible player. My dad would always say, how the hell did he catch that pass? And he would yell at the screen, but he would clap whenever Fred was responsible for beating the Jets. So thank you so much, and tell him everyone got to see him through you and got shown the money. But maybe some of you may thinking I've forgotten someone. I have not. I have not. Sid, when you won your 8th title, what did I say to you? I said you would be inducted. Is that correct? I promised you that you would be inducted. But little did you and I know that after you retired, you were looking for something that you haven't received. And that was respect. That was admiration. That was recognition of what you had done 8 consecutive times. Never, ever done before. But besides being an 8-time champion, you're an example of great parenting. You're an example of great parenting and what it means to have a wonderful family behind you. So many of us may know the term, I want to get my flowers. I want to get my flowers. I want to get my respect. And this moment for you, in this city, in this state, in this building, in this Olympia weekend, before your fellow inductees, before the people in this audience, before your family and friends, Sid, I've given you your flowers. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Doc, 40 years you've been my friend. And none of us would be sitting out there or sitting there without you starting this great event. It's just an idea. But if it hadn't been for me being the gatekeeper, everyone would be a martial artist up here. It's true story. But I'd like to leave you all with the fact that this has been one of our best classes ever. I'm so happy that all of you have come out to see something very historic. And I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to honor them this weekend. And you all are going to the Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen.